Alright, we can call this video a guide if you want. There's no crazy graphics or anything like that. It's just a couple of things that are going to help you, but I don't think a lot of people are going to sit down and talk to you about it. So that's what this video is for. And these are also things that I've been working on again myself, because you always got to come back to the basics sometimes. First thing, let's talk about flowcharts. I think when most people say that, or when they use that term, it's like derogatory. It's like flowchart parentheses derogatory, because they think of very linear offense, or they think of like somebody just spinning a wheel and cycling through all their options, like I'm gonna dive kick, I'm just gonna spiral arrow, I'm just doing random things. That's kind of what we associate a flowchart with. That's not really the case. It is necessary for you to have a flowchart on offense. It's something that I kind of just forgot about over time, but I came back to it and I realized that it's helped me out a lot lately. I'm going to give you two different examples on two different characters. Let's start with Cammy. So my basic flowchart is like I'm going to get some sort of hit, whether that's a hit confirm or whether that's a whiff punish, and I'm going to convert that hit into spiral arrow. And you'll see that leaves me at plus 29, and she's got an 18 frame forward dash. So that means I'm like plus 11 or something like that, right? So I'm going to do this. I'm going to dash, and after the dash, this is where your flowchart starts. After that dash, you can do a button, you can do a meaty button, or you can throw, or you can shimmy. So if I do this, and I dash, and I do a button, of course I'm still plus 1, so I can do a jab or something like that. But next time I get the knockdown, I know that maybe he's going to block again, so I'm just going to throw. I'm just going to do crouch medium, or crouch medium kick, crouch medium punch, whatever my hit is, into this, and I'm just going to throw. And now you're probably asking, well, what if he blocked my button and he teched my throw? Well, that probably means he's delay teching, right? That means he's blocking for a second and then he's teching right afterwards. And to beat a delay tech, you're just going to shimmy. You're just going to do this, the tech will come out, and then you do something like this. And that's it, right? That's kind of like my very basic flowchart, and it works super well, especially on a character like Cammy. It's why she's so easy. She's easy to learn, I'll say. When you start playing footsies in neutral against guys who are doing drive, rush, stand, heavy punch, and all this stuff, and you have to start trying to check it with this, that's when we start to get into the weeds, and maybe it's not so easy. But to learn the character, I think she's on the easier side. So let's try it on a little bit of a more difficult character, a little bit more complex character. Can we make a simple flowchart on A.K.I? So most of her combos end in this heavy chain, and whether they're poisoned or not, it will leave you at plus 44, which means you can do a couple of things here. You can do this into the medium slither and set up a strike throw situation, very similar to Cammy, right? So you do this, go into here, and now we're doing strike throw, right? So we can throw there, or we can, oh, I did a throw, or we can strike, right? We can do something like that. That is kind of your strike throw game out of the slither. What you can also do, and I like to do this in the corner because it's a little bit tough in the mid screen, but if you do this, you're plus 44, you get a safe jump. And a lot of people will get hit by this because they try and wake up an anti-air, because it looks like it's not a safe jump sometimes. It's like the one that Jamie has where he does the little headbutt thing mid-air. And people will try and anti-air this a lot, and you get a huge conversion if it hits. So that's kind of a simple little flowchart you can use on A.K.I.s. After this, I'm going to do the slither, I'm going to do a little strike throw situation, or I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go into a safe jump in the corner, and you know, kind of the same thing sets up if they block the jumping, right? You can do a strike or a throw. This character is much more complex and unexplored though, so there might be a more optimal flowchart, if you will, but you'll have to go in the lab and figure it out. Next thing I've been working on, a little bit more abstract, a little bit more not in the game, I guess you could say, is just slowing down. Like this game, because of the mechanics of all this like flying colors and rushing around the screen and shit, it makes you feel like you constantly need to be doing something or else you will be losing. And you'll find yourself, I find myself on Cammy like heavily relying on dive kick way too much, because I feel like I need to constantly be going in or else I am losing. It's just not the case. That also doesn't mean just sit here, right? It means there's a balance. You have to move around the screen and you have to engage with the opponent without fully committing to things all the time, I guess. And when I say stuff like that, I think it starts raising questions like in your head. You're like, well, how do I know when to engage? How do I know when to commit? How do I know when to play defensive? How do I know when to play somewhere in between? And what is that in between? What do I think about? There's so much going on. I don't even know what to think about anymore. To be honest with you, this is a revelation I made recently after making hundreds of videos of me talking about what to think about when you're playing the game. Generally, the best thing you can do is to just pay attention. Just pay attention to what is going on, and you will come to the conclusion that you need to. There is not there's not really much that I'm thinking about these days. It's mostly me just paying attention, and then my brain is like, okay, this is what we have to do now. And I'm like, cool, that's great. Like, I don't need to be overthinking all the time. That's something I learned from watching that documentary on the Reversal channel. I'll link it in the description if you want to watch it. But it follows like Mena, Idom, and NuckleDu through their run at CEO. And one thing that all three of them say, as long as I focus on the game, I can win. As long as I pay attention to the game, I can win. That's literally the only common thing that was between all three of them. And NuckleDu said that he lost because he couldn't focus on the game. Idom was winning. He was in top 8 until he just stopped focusing on the game because he got mad at Jury. And Mena won because he kept focused all the time. That's all they said. That's all they had to do. And of course, that comes with experience, right? If you're a beginner, you're not just going to focus on the game and like start winning. You're going to focus on the game and be like, how do I stop him from jumping at me? And then you'll go into training and be like, oh, that's how I stop him from jumping at me. And then another problem will come where you say, oh, he's drive rushing at me. How do I stop him from drive rushing at me? And then you'll slowly solve all these problems. And over time, you will learn enough to where you can just pay attention to the game and things become second nature. That's why I try to make these videos for players who are worse than me, better than me, the same skill level as me, is because you'll all take something different away from this. But eventually you will all end up in the same position, right? Some of you have been here before. Some of you will be here at some point. Lastly, I think the easiest thing you can do is just optimize your combos a little bit. It takes a little bit of homework and I'd say a lot of VOD reviewing. Like, you'll realize when you're playing the game that you have left damage on the table or you could have killed, or you ask yourself mid-game, could I have killed there? Luckily for you, there is a replay system where you can just look at the game and be like, oh yeah, this is the resources I had, this is what I was willing to spend, this is what I should have spent, this is what I could have did. And then you go in the lab and you just recreate it. And it's very easy on a character like Jury, for example, to see if you left damage on the table, because sometimes I'll just autopilot into this combo, which I'll do if I only have like 1 store or no stores or something like that. But if you noticed, I had 3 stores there, so I should have did something like this if I wanted to spend everything. Or you could do something a little bit simpler, but you just wanted to spend the stores, not do a drive rush combo for a store that you didn't even need. Things like this are very important, especially when you play a character like Cammy, because her damage is not, I wouldn't say it's super low in this game, but it is important that you get the most damage out of each hit, especially in matchups like Marissa, where leaving her alive for 1 more interaction could literally mean death. Like, she wakes up critical art and you're full screen now against the wall and you've taken like 60%. Or like JP wakes up amnesia because you did the wrong combo and now you have to deal with that shit. Ken. I'm just gonna leave it there. Ken. You don't want to leave that fucker alive. But yeah, that's kind of like 3 simple little things that you can add to your game that will make a world of a difference, right? Figure out your character's offensive flow chart. Pay attention to the game more. You know, I know it's easy to get distracted. It's easy to get angry and stuff like that. Trust me, I made hundreds of videos about it. Just pay attention to the game a little bit more and optimize your combos. Know what you want to go into when you land the hit that you're looking for. If this video helped you, if you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing, and I'll talk to you again very soon.